Hello.
Hi.
What are you painting here?
I'm painting a banner.
What does it say?
It's going to say Social Centre Network.
So you're part of the Social Centre Network. Which part?
Which part? The Manchester section.
Can you describe the Manchester Social Centre?
It's in a basement, and so it's called the Basement. A lot of thought went into the name. We've got a very, very ridiculously cheap rent right in the middle of the city centre of Manchester. It's unique, like all social centres, in its own unique way.
Tell me more. Who's going there and what's your mission?
Part of the mission was to bring the grassroots of Manchester together, all the sort of community groups and the campaign groups and all the artist groups and stuff together, not just the sort of alternative-y sort of DIY grassroots scene, but also all the stuff that's out there that have all their meetings in pubs or put on events in horrible venues all over Manchester to have this resource for fundraisers or for nights or for meetings for these groups, to bring them all together. And the other big reason was to sort of try and get loads more people on board and doing radical protest of DIY stuff, because we'd done quite a few squats in called Occasional Cafes over the last 9 years, and they used to be really, really buzzing, and then we were running out of people to run them, and it was sort of getting harder to do those, and we needed sort of rejuvenate the whole scene in Manchester, and that's what's starting to happen now. So we wanted to get somewhere long term, a 5-year lease on a place where we could basically try and radicalise lots of people. And the other thing was we wanted lots of people, ordinary city centre workers, to be coming in and reading schnews and hanging out and stuff, and that's kind of happened. That loads of people come in. We do about 200 lunches a day. But it's cool that we're hoping they're getting slightly radicalised in their process and reading all the stuff and looking at the stuff and their displays and whatever as they're coming in. For example, there was one bloke who kept coming in a suit, and he was a real regular, kept coming in every 2 or 3 times a week, and then in the end he came up to Scotland with us for the G8 and said, you've radicalised me, and which is kind of really odd. Everyone thought he was a cop because of this, but I don't think he is. He seemed genuinely really, really interested. And yeah, some people have come in and said, oh, I've started riding my bike and I've sold my car and stuff like that. But it's you hear anecdotes, but it's hard to measure what effect you're really having, because it's inside people's brains.
And how do you get the bridge in between being alternative but renting a space?
Yeah, it's a really difficult one, because we just found that whatever you do, it's sort of compromised, because we tried. By renting, you run the risk of being criticised as being basically, well, not doing what you say, not putting your money where your mouth is. You're criticising capitalism and everything else, and that's very evident in the building. There's not just the bookshop, but the exhibitions and everything. It's very sort of it's very radical end of left-wing politics, and very sort of analytical and critical. And so you run the risk of people coming in and going, yeah, but you're renting, or you're giving money to private landlords and stuff. Then it's just that difficult, because we tried when we were doing squats to make them we'd make them really, really nice, and that'd work. We'd get people in for a while, but then just naturally with a squatted place, we'd just always find, even if we made it really nice for a few weeks, eventually there'd be, because you've got to live there all the time, people have to live there, eventually it just becomes more and more harder to maintain and to make nice, and then it becomes more of an alternative place. It's this is succeeding in getting in really mainstream people in seats and stuff, and so it's a difficult one. We found that neither's perfect, but both are good, and both have their. Squats are naturally more radical and more in what they're actually saying. Don't use landlords, just take over buildings, and it's sort of. But as far as getting new people involved and stuff, I find it's more hard when you've got a squatted building.
A look in the future for the Basement?
Meeting someone on Monday this company, the Ethical Property Company, and hopefully they're going to buy the building for us. We're in negotiations with them. If they buy the building, it'll be brilliant because we've put really loads of work into it, and we hope to be there forever. I mean, there's a hell of a lot of, there's about 30-40 people now running it, and everyone's really loving it, and it's people-wise a total success. So we just want to do it until a point where there's not enough people to do it. So hopefully that'll be never. Hopefully there always will be. There always will be a permanent social centre in Manchester, but also there'll be more and more. There'll be more of a culture of squatting again. We'll develop on the back of this, we hope, and there'll be more people to do stuff like that. Generally DIY stuff in the future.
Okay, good luck then, and thank you for the interview.
Goodness gracious, great balls of fire. Now the stakes are raised so very much higher. Consequences could be dire, but the big boys want to escalate. It won't do no good to give hate for hate. Can't leave it up to them to decide our fate. I try in my life to give as much as I can to everyone in it, every child, woman, man. I'm a cyclone ranger, life changer, analyst, anarchist, altruist, activist, multinationals on my activist, not prejudiced. Sometimes we know to use a fist. It's getting scarier, but we're aware. We're getting lairier in every area. It's getting scarier, but we're aware. We're getting lairier in every area. Because nobody wants a third world war. What do they use the word democracy for? We have no say, we take no part. If the big boys want to blow the world apart, we got no more time to waste and sit. We gotta get up, get strong, get fit, turn off the fan before the shit hits it.